If your iPhone 15 battery isn't lasting as long as it used to, and you've noticed a drop in performance, it might be time for a replacement. In this video, we'll be walking you through the entire process from disassembling your iPhone to reassembling it with a brand new battery. Before going ahead with this repair, you should check and see which iPhone model you have by using Apple's iPhone identifier, which we'll link in the description below. In this guide, we're repairing the A3090 model, which is the European version. If you have one of the other models from a different region, you might notice some internal differences in the iPhone, so just be cautious and double check what the differences are before starting. Also, if you need any of the tools or parts we use in this video, we're going to link them all in the description below. Okay, let's get into the repair. So as always, the first thing you're going to want to do to start this repair is power your device off and make sure you discharge the battery below 25%. We're going to be working with tools very close to the iPhone battery, and if it's fully charged, there's a much higher risk of causing a short or it catching fire if the battery is accidentally damaged during the repair. So it might take a bit longer to wait for it to discharge, but it's worth doing to keep yourself and your device safe. Next thing you're going to want to do is remove the two Pentalobe screws at the bottom of the iPhone. Now you've removed the two Pentalobe screws, the next thing you're going to want to do is heat the iPhone. We're going to start by removing the back cover so we can disconnect the battery. Heating the iPhone is going to loosen the adhesive and allow us to pry the screen off. We're using our forward vacuum separation machine to do this, but if you don't have one of these, you can either use a heat mat or failing that, a hairdryer. Just make sure you're heating the screen so it's hot to the touch. That's how you'll know the adhesive is loosened enough to start prying. If you're using a heat mat, you want to be heating somewhere between 55 to 65 degrees Celsius and heating it for around 5 to 10 minutes. Now the device has been heated up, you can grab your prying tool and insert it between the frame and the back cover. If you're struggling to create an opening, you can always use a suction cup to help lift the back cover up and away from the frame. Before you start prying elsewhere on the phone, be aware that there's a delicate cable connecting the back glass to the phone, which sits right next to the volume down button, so avoid inserting your prying tool there. There's also some spring contacts at the top and bottom of the phone, so when prying in these areas, try not to pry more than 3mm to avoid your prying tool bending them. You can also use small amounts of isopropyl alcohol to help with prying and loosening the screen. Keep prying around the entire phone. Once you've pried around the entire back glass, you can lift the back glass up. It's still attached to the phone by a ribbon cable, so open it gently like a book towards the volume buttons. If there's quite a bit of resistance when lifting it up, don't force it, just pry around the entire back glass again to see if you missed any adhesive. Now it's time to disconnect the battery and disconnect the cable keeping the back cover attached to the phone. Start by removing the shield covering the back glass connector by removing the tri-point screw holding it down. We're using a magnetic mat throughout this guide to keep track of all the screws and stay organised. Now you can disconnect the back glass connector. To remove the battery, you'll first want to heat it up in order to loosen the adhesive sticking it to the frame. Again, we're using our separation machine here, but you can use a hairdryer or heat mat, but just make sure you don't overheat the exposed battery. We're also going to use a bit of isopropyl alcohol and apply it around the edges of the battery. This will also help loosen the adhesive from the frame. So the iPhone 15 battery, like most other iPhone batteries, is stuck to the frame with two strips of adhesive. Each strip has a tab that folds over the front of the battery. In the next steps, you'll be using these tabs to pull the strips from underneath the battery. Before continuing, you're going to want to remove the shield covering the battery connector by removing its two tri-point screws. You can then disconnect the battery connector. So to start, you'll need to peel the tab back and then use your tweezers to grip on the adhesive. Just be extra cautious not to puncture the battery when using tweezers around the battery. Twist the adhesive onto the tweezers, and when you've got a good grip, you can start pulling the adhesive out from underneath the battery. This might not always work. Sometimes you'll start pulling the adhesive and it'll snap, and you might not be able to retrieve the rest of the adhesive. If you can't retrieve it, don't worry too much, just move on to the next adhesive strip and try and get as much of the adhesive out as you can. If you manage to remove all of the adhesive successfully, then you'll be able to lift the battery out. If you're like us and weren't able to get all of the adhesive out from underneath the battery, use the flat end of a spudger to gently lift the battery up and put a few drops of isopropyl alcohol down the side of the battery, which will help loosen the adhesive underneath. Leave it to soak in for a couple of minutes so it can take effect. Next, use the flat end of a spudger or tweezers to gently pry underneath the battery. If it feels really stubborn, then add some more isopropyl alcohol underneath and wait again. If there's still quite a lot of adhesive under the battery, this might take a couple of minutes of constant gentle pressure to lift the battery away from the adhesive. The main aim here is to make sure you don't apply too much pressure, causing the battery to bend or crease. Now the battery is out, you can remove the remaining adhesive strip stuck to the frame. Now is a great time to grab your new replacement battery and test it before fitting it with its adhesive. Plug the battery flex back into its connector and then turn the phone on. If your iPhone is updated to iOS 18.1 or higher, then when you turn the phone on, you'll be asked to go through Apple's Repair Assistant to finish the repair. If your iPhone is updated to iOS 18.1 or higher, then the Repair Assistant will work for new, used and even aftermarket batteries. Repair Assistant will calibrate your new battery and will check its battery health. Once finished, you'll be able to find any relevant information about the repair in the parts and service history found in the About section in your settings. Once you're happy the battery is performing as it should, you can take it out of the phone and apply a new adhesive to the back of the battery. Make sure you line the tabs up with the top of the battery so they can successfully wrap around the top of the battery. Next, you can plug the battery flex back into its connector and then lower the battery into the frame. With the battery in the correct spot, you can unplug its connector and then work on cleaning up the frame. Next, you're going to want to clean up around the frame so we can apply a waterproof adhesive for the back cover. You can now reconnect the battery connector and refit its shield and tri-point screw. Now you can apply the back glass adhesive to the frame. When you've applied your adhesive, you can reconnect the back glass connector. You can then refit the shield and tri-point screw. Now lift up and remove the plastic protectors for the adhesive. You can now refit the back cover by slowly lowering it into the frame and gently pressing it into place, making sure you apply pressure around the entire back cover to make sure the adhesive bonds with the back cover. Lastly, fit the two Pentalobe screws. And that's it. I hope this guide was helpful. If it was, we would really appreciate it if you could like this video, click the subscribe button or leave a comment so we can keep making guides like this in the future. Thank you.